Hello, everyone. It's Chen, and I'm back with another interview. On today's episode of Careers in a Crunch, I'm going to be interviewing David Chen, who works as the Senior Director of Outpatient Radiology. I'm super excited to have him on my podcast and hear about the path he took. So, yeah, just going to take a second. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview. I've been looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Never been on a podcast before, so this is a first for me.
Well, I'm glad to be the first.
All right. So
So,
what
yeah.
would you like to know?
Okay, so I guess we can start with my first question. So, yeah, what did you major in, and did that shape your career in any way?
Oh boy. I took a roundabout way to get here. So I actually started off as a finance major. Um, my dad had a restaurant business, a wholesale food business. I always thought I wanted to be in business. Um, Halfway through, I got bored with finance classes, and I ended up graduating with a psychology degree, sociology minor. So I'm not sure it actually shaped my career, but I always think that all the different paths you take lead you to somewhere. So it got me here.
Yeah, that's amazing. What sort of like inspired you to first major in finance?
It was my dad with the business. I always thought that there was a chance that I might want to follow his footsteps. So I thought business was the logical choice to make. Um, and so I started with that. But the classes were not for me. I actually worked one summer in a company and I was bored to tears. So I could not see myself doing it for 40 years. And so I decided to change. My first psychology class, the professor was super cool and exciting, and I took a psychology class every semester after that. And so, if I wanted to graduate in the time, I stuck with psychology.
Wait, that is incredible. You started off with something that wasn't, I guess you didn't have exactly the passion for, and ended out with something you did. So that's super
Yes.
interesting. Um, Sort of going off of that, what inspired you to pursue like the specific career that or role that you're in as of now?
Um, Luck. So I graduated from school. Um, so here I am. I graduated with a psychology degree, but my first job away from my dad was with IBM. And I was working, with the marketing rep, and I was more on the customer side, support side. Was about to be a father for the first time, and I decided that I needed some extra money, so I was figured I was going to be a waiter at night or bust some tables and make some extra cash. And a friend got me an interview with a radiology place in Queens. Knew nothing about radiology except for all the times I got hurt and ended up in emergency rooms taking x-rays. Um, the owner of the business liked me. He hired me to work weekends. I really enjoyed the technology and learning something different. I saw that it was a growing field. Uh, a year later, NYU had a um, opening that I applied for, and I went for it. So I kind of took this roundabout way to get into this field. I never thought I would stay here. I've been here for 31 years. Didn't think I was going to stay anywhere for 31 years, but really enjoyed my whole time here, the people I've met, all the stuff that I've learned. They made it hard for me to want to leave.
Yeah, that's so like crazy sort of how you started out with like couple other jobs and how you ended up at working at your current one for 31 years. Definitely like a change.
Yes.
Going off of that, what skills did you learn from your past jobs that you took into your current role?
I think the common denominator between, my dad's business, IBM, and the healthcare is customer service. I think they all provided that in, different ways, but so I think that um, that was the one common thread, even though when you kind of look at it from, far away, you're like, there's three different careers. And I think that that was a point. I think that working for my dad, who's always going to be the toughest boss I've ever had, kind of made it easier to deal with other people. Um, yeah, so I think the customer service side and learning about people, learning, working for different people, understanding that every manager is different, every situation is different. So, I think that that's something that I took with me.
Yeah, it's really interesting how like all sort of different jobs and careers can sort of all have common themes and skills that everybody can really use and utilize in their job.
Yes.
Um, Sort of on the topic of skill, what are some skills that you think are most important for someone working in your field?
Um, Gosh, it's funny because I interview a lot of people, and every year they ask me, what do you look for in a candidate? Um, I think in this field, there's compassion, there's empathy. Um, I think the one of my favorite skills that I think goes not just for this job but everywhere is being humble, wanting to learn. Um, I think all of those things are important in this field. It's still a growing technology, but at the end of this, we're taking care of people. So I think all of the skills of understanding people, and not just our patients, but the people you work with. And I think that's important as well.
Yeah, those are definitely some, I think, really important skills that not just people, working, but people at school and outside of there can really take in and, use in their everyday lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some challenges you face in your job and how do you handle them?
Challenges. Um, I guess everything changes. You know, um, the healthcare industry changes, and you have to get used to it. You know, Insurance companies change, and you have to adjust to it. People change, right? So, there's not a so I was an MR tech for my first 10 years. Um, and again, you're taking care of people. I remember 31 years ago, it was like a shock, like, oh my gosh, this patient has cancer, right? Today, it's well, like not every other, but it seems that way sometimes. So just understanding how life has changed, how the environment has changed, the patient population, you know, and then even through the different generations, you take care of older people and younger people, but their personalities are different and how to talk to them and how to get them to, get through the exam. I think all of those are challenges that we have to meet every day.
Yeah, definitely. I like what you said about change and how, people change and you sort of have to adapt to your surroundings and, make the best out of any situation.
It's
Um, so yeah, my next question is, when you did work in MRI technology, did you see like a lot of changes in um that like technology and have those changes impacted patient care?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when you think back of when I first started comparing to what we do now, I joke that around that I feel like a dinosaur sometimes. Um, every exam took at least an hour when I first started. Um, I don't know if you've ever had an MRI, but imagine being in the MRI to for an hour. Um, I think the greatest things that happened are software, technology, people doing research to figure out how to make better sequences, quicker sequences. We have some exams that go into a 15-minute slot without sacrificing image quality. So, from a patient point of view, the difference of being in that machine for 15 minutes versus an hour, um, absolutely big for patients. Nobody likes being in there, but we've had comments over the years where said, "Wow, this is the fastest one I had." I remember when it used to be like 3, 4 times longer. The wait time. Sitting out in the waiting area, so the exams get shorter, they get back quicker too. So, from a patient point of view, I think that's like the biggest thing is how quick we go. From a tech point of view, it's just the knowledge, trying to keep up with different changes, different sequences, and what we can possibly do. So, lots of changes in this field.
Yeah, that's I find that so crazy how research and technology I feel has changed so much over the last few years, and like you said, it used to be an hour. I've never gotten an MRI, but you said that it used to take an hour for people to get theirs done, and now 15 minutes. That's definitely like a
Yeah.
huge change.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. When you applied for um I guess your roles at NYU, did you have a specific vision or goal that you wanted to achieve? And has that changed over time?
I wanted to survive 3 years. That was my first goal. I came here not knowing a whole lot. I worked in private practice, and when I first got here, the difference between private practice and being in an academic institution, um, you know, the first few months I questioned if I could even fit. um, so, the goals change over years. I never um, envisioned going into management and leadership role. Um, so, I can't tell you exactly when that came. I mean, it was year 10 that I finally got into management, but I never had aspirations for it. Um, uh, the goals now, I'm not sure if I really have goals at this point. I mean, it's just, you know, trying to sustain being very good. Um, Recruiting the right people, training wise, we doing the best we can to train people. How do we keep people happy at work so that they want to work hard and teaching them the value of what we do. But I don't know at this point there's really goals left. Um, but there's still pride and joy in what I do.
Yeah, I really like what you said about value teaching or the people that you interview and hire that, what you do is really important and it has an impact on people. That's a really important point.
Yeah, I remember one time when I was a tech, and I forget what year it was. I actually got invited up to the OR to watch brain surgery. And I saw our images up in the OR, and I was like getting a little excited. And I was talking to the people in the OR, and they kind of made them mention that this is why we badge you for image and good images because we literally use them, to open up somebody's brain and for surgery. And then it dawned on me how important um, what we do. I mean, sometimes you get caught up because you're just trying to take care of the next patient. There's so many patients waiting, and you kind of forget what you're actually doing. So um, that was kind of a turning point for me that I understood that there was a really big value in what we were doing.
Yeah, that's definitely a turning point, realizing that what you're doing is really instead of being really hyper focused on, sort of just like getting from one thing to the next, taking time to appreciate what you've done.
Yeah.
So sort of a fun question. What has been your greatest achievement throughout your career?
You mean besides surviving 31 years? Watching the growth of the department and the people that we've hired and watching them grow as people and professionally, like getting promoted and doing things. I think, knowing that being part of that is kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's like amazing having like you said, like a team to see like growth from like the beginning to middle and end, sort of how each and every individual participated in like the whole team's like growth and yeah.
Yeah, I think as management, I mean, sometimes we forget that that's should be a big part of what we do. It's not just, how many patients we get through and, how quickly we can do things and, are we making money? Are we being efficient? But, actually the employees, the staff who are actually doing the work, some of them are okay just doing the job that they're doing. And some of them, have aspirations to move up and understanding that and trying to help people get to where they want to get to is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's like so like amazing and incredible.
Yes.
Going into advice, um, if you could go back and give your high school self one or more pieces of advice, um, what would you tell your past self?
Pay attention. Um, I don't think I was the most focused high school student. I think like a lot of students, I had some friends of mine who knew what they wanted to do at a very young age. And I give them credit that they figured it out and they were so laser focused and they got to where they wanted to go. I think there were a lot of people like me in high school that really had no idea where they wanted to end up, and so probably as a student, I wasn't really paying attention as much as I should have. But I don't think that there was a part that I stopped believing that if I worked hard, I could do something good. I just didn't know what it was. But I'm kind of glad that I took the road that I did in the sense that I got to see different things and I found something that I really do like doing. So again, I think I was very lucky to get to this point. But it's really difficult when you're in high school and you just don't know what you want to do. You know, I know the question comes up, and I'm not sure what grade you're in, but college, right? What am I going to study? Why am I spending all this money going to this college if I don't know what I want to study? And those are, all legitimate questions. Um, but I think that if you keep on plugging along and trying to find out what you're passionate about, I think it's, if you're fortunate to follow that passion, it's could lead to something very worthwhile.
Yeah, I'm currently a sophomore and like as a high school student, I think that's like such like a valuable piece of advice because there's so many people that like obviously do not know what they want to do yet and I think it's like a good reminder that like figuring that out and putting like a lot of hard work in is all part of like the process and in like figuring out what you want to do and who you become. So that's definitely some great piece of advice that I think not just me, but a lot of people would benefit from hearing.
Yeah, it's not easy. I think it's even tougher these days for high school students. I mean, we all like to believe, oh, we had it tough, but I think these days with the whole, workforce changing and the different um, culture and job markets and all this other stuff. Understanding where you want to end up is really tough. Um, there was still a part of me that that believed that as long as I worked hard, I could do something good. Right? And I know a lot of people end up in jobs that they're just not happy, and that's always tough. And
Mhm.
I think people have to just continue to keep on moving to growing themselves. I mean, I don't know how to better put that.
Yeah. I really agree with you in the sense that hard work can take you like really far. If you have like a drive and a passion for right just doing the best you can, definitely has an impact on where you go and like where you end up. So, yeah. Um Sort of going off of that question, what advice would you give to high school students who are still unsure about what they want to do?
Um, so I was a little bit rebellious when I was younger. I remember I'm not going to college because I just don't want to go, but my parents wanted me to go. And I remember coming home one day and telling my mom, I'm not going to college. I'm going to be a sanitation worker. Mom, white hair sprouted and she was looking like she wanted to cry. um, and when I said it to my dad, all he said was, well, if you're going to be a sanitation worker, be the best sanitation worker. Um, and that took the fun out of being a sanitation worker, so I went to college. But I think that, you know, just giving it your all every day, trying to figure out who you are, what you're good at. If you're not sure, you know, even if you're taking part-time work or odd job, just doing the best you can at it, right? Because it's really interesting because you'll bump into people along the way that will see you, and you never know where those you know um, chance encounters can lead. So if you're always putting your best foot forward, no matter what you're doing, then at some point, hopefully, it'll pay off. I think a lot of times, when people don't know what they're doing, they give really, at best, a half an effort because they convince themselves that they're miserable. And, then you sort of can kind of get into a rut. So I guess my dad's advice, if you're going to be a sanitation worker, be the best sanitation worker.
Yeah, that is an incredible and very valuable piece of advice. Always giving 110% in everything you do. And I think it's something not just high school students, but I think any person of any age or any career definitely could right take in and hear and use it for their own personal gain and experience. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here and for your time. Your journey and path is so inspiring to hear, and so many high schoolers like me are going to benefit from hearing this.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. This was an interesting experience.
Yeah, this is really great to hear about, your career. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Have a great
Bye bye.
day.
You too.
That's it for this episode of Careers in a Crunch. If you found today's conversation helpful and informative, be sure to share it with a friend and family member. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an interview. Thank you. Bye bye.